What's up, guys? This is Matt Singer from ScreenCrush.com, and today we're counting down the top 5 Spider-Man movies that were never made. Everyone's favorite friendly neighborhood wall crawler has already starred in 5 films since the year 2002, and this month a new Spider-Man makes his debut in Captain America: Civil War, before headlining his own solo film, Spider-Man: Homecoming, in 2017. But those are just the movies Marvel and Sony actually made. In the years before and after the Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man franchises, numerous filmmakers have tried to bring other versions of the webhead to the screen. Let's count down 5 of the most interesting Spider-Men that never made it to theaters, starting with number 5, Roger Corman's Spider-Man. Roger Corman is known as the King of the Bees, and he spent half a century churning out cult and exploitation movies of only one shape and size: cheap. His 1994 version of Fantastic Four that was so bad it was never released is legendary. But few people realize that over a decade earlier, Corman briefly acquired the rights to make a Spider-Man movie as well. According to Jordan Raphael and Tom Spurgeon's Stan Lee and the Rise and Fall of the American Comic Book, Corman got his hands on Spidey in 1982 and actually tried to mount a version of the character based on a treatment by none other than Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee. This Spider-Man would have been set in college, where he would have fought Dr. Octopus and romanced Mary Jane and a Russian KGB agent. Raphael and Spurgeon claim Stan Lee's pitch was way too ambitious for the notoriously frugal Corman, including a climactic battle on the top of the United Nations building. Given that his Fantastic Four movie looked like this, this movie not happening might have been for the best. On to number 4, The Amazing Spider-Man Cinematic Universe. Fast forward some 30 years to 2015 and the halls of Sony Pictures, who needed to compete with Marvel and their ever-expanding cinematic universe of titles. With the rights to Spider-Man and all of his affiliated characters, they planned an ambitious slate of Spider-Man movies. In addition to The Amazing Spider-Man 3, Dane DeHaan's Harry Osborn would assemble a team of villains as the Sinister Six, which was going to be written and directed by Cabin in the Woods filmmaker Drew Goddard. Plus, Spider-Man villain Venom was going to receive his own solo movie as well. All Sony needed was for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 to be a big hit. And what could go wrong, right? I mean, it's a Spider-Man movie. Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Jamie Foxx, Green Goblin. Oh no.
Please, you were right. The fall is fast and steep.
Boy, it sure was. Amazing Spider-Man 2 made $700 million worldwide, but that was by far the least successful Spider-Man movie so far. It made almost $200 million less than Spider-Man 3. Yes, that Spider-Man 3. Very quickly, the Amazing Spider-Man Cinematic Universe became the Amazing Spider-Man Sinking Ship. Now, Sony is supposedly still developing a Venom movie, but there hasn't been talk of that Sinister Six project in a long time. And you have a better chance of seeing a movie starring Paste Pot Pete than you do The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Yeah, that's right, a Paste Pot Pete reference. We are rolling deep with the nerd jokes on this top 5. Next up, number 3, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. Amazing Spider-Man 3 wasn't the first time a Spidey sequel was canceled deep into its development. Sony had every intention of making a 4th Spider-Man movie with director Sam Raimi and stars Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. They hired big-time screenwriters like David Koepp and James Vanderbilt to work on the Spider-Man 4 script, which would have featured John Malkovich as Vulture and Anne Hathaway as Felicia Hardy, who, in the Marvel Comics, is a burglar known as Black Cat, but was supposedly going to be given the movie alter ego of the Vulturess. The Vulturess. That's the kind of idea that blows you back in your chair with its awfulness. Sam Raimi agreed, and with production fast approaching and a script that he felt was not up to snuff, Vulturess, Raimi left the project. Without him, Sony eventually decided to reboot the series, which led to the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. But imagining that 4th Raimi Spider-Man remains a what-if worthy of the watcher. Next up, number 2, Canon Films' Spider-Man. A couple of years after Roger Corman's Spidey, the film rights to the character went up for sale yet again, and this time they were bought by Canon Films, the company behind such 80s classics as Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, and Death Wish 3. Astonishingly, Canon got the rights to Spider-Man for just $225,000. Unfortunately, they didn't have any clue what to do with them. Supposedly, their first script featured Peter Parker turning into a literal Spider-Man, as in a giant 8-legged tarantula. Later, they brought in people who had apparently heard of Spider-Man and who wrote scripts that were a little bit closer to the original comics. Canon thought Spider-Man would be their ticket to blockbuster legitimacy, and they budgeted $20 million for the movie. And let me tell you something, $20 million buys a lot of breakdancing films. Now, this thing got pretty far along in development, too. There were ads made for the film, and even a teaser trailer. Unfortunately, the closer Canon got to making Spider-Man, the closer it also got to bankruptcy. And the company closed before this version could make it to the screen. The movie rights to Spidey began bouncing around Hollywood and eventually landed at Coralco, where they gave us our #1 coolest Spider-Man movie that was never made, James Cameron's Spider-Man. Now, this was the James Cameron of the early 1990s, hot off Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which quickly became one of the biggest action movies of all time. Back then, there was arguably no one in the world more qualified to direct a giant Spider-Man movie. James Cameron's treatment for the character was reportedly a lot darker than previous films or even the comics. According to the LA Times, his Peter was morally ambiguous, profane, and even sadistically violent. His bad guys were Electro and Sandman, although Cameron changed both characters' real names and backstories. Spider-Man's main love interest would have been Mary Jane, and supposedly there would have been a sex scene on top of the Brooklyn Bridge. Hey baby, would you like to see my web shooter? Please stop saying that. Like Canon Spider-Man movies before it, Coralco Spidey got kiboshed by a studio bankruptcy, plus a bunch of lawsuits. Cameron moved on, and his screenplay was never made, although some of his ideas did filter through into the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, including the concept of Spider-Man's webs as organic fluid rather than a chemical he invents. That lasted through Spider-Man 3. Both Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland use mechanical webs like the Spider-Man of the comics. And not to spoil things for you, but Spider-Man is so good in Captain America Civil War, it's enough to make webhead fans dance in the aisles. On second thought, no more dancing. For Screen Crush, I'm Matt Singer.
Thanks for watching, and for even more, make sure to subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and get the latest movie and TV news on ScreenCrush.com.